Ladies and gentlemen, we've went to the Amazon before, but it's time to go back. Today we're talking about Cannibal Ferox. Now, Cannibal Ferox came out in 1981, gets a 5.2 on IMDb, directed by Umberto Lenzi. And this DVD right here, pretty actually proud to own this DVD because it's very rare to find this movie now, whether you're trying to find a VHS or a DVD, and especially if you're trying to look for a Blu-ray of this movie. This movie is very rare to come by anymore. It's even more rare than Cannibal Holocaust and a couple other cannibal movies that I've tried hunting down as well. It's a very rare film to find, so I picked it up on eBay for around $15. It was definitely a steal, so I had to go for it. And I can't show you guys the inside because, boom, boobies right there. But I can show you guys this disc right here. Pretty cool looking disc. And I think it has features, but I don't really know if I checked them out yet. I think it has a commentary, has trailers and still galleries, interviews. So it does have more features than I thought it would have. And also in the back here you got some reviews from the critics and stuff like that. And real quick before I get into this film, want to talk about this Blu-ray. Now I can't show you guys much of this artwork because it is pretty graphic and it does have a lot of nudity in this artwork. But I think I can show you guys the front cover without my video getting taken down. So let's just cross our fingers and hope that it doesn't get taken down. But I have the Blu-ray of Cannibal Holocaust. Picked up a while ago. And I wasn't able to talk about it on camera. But I did pick up the Blu-ray of Cannibal Holocaust. Technically speaking, it's a 3-disc set. It has 2 Blu-ray discs and a CD, the soundtrack. And I gotta say this. If you're a fan of Cannibal Holocaust, get this. This is, without a doubt, probably the best version you can get. It's a version that has all the interviews, commentaries, it has trailers. There's a little booklet in here that I can't show you because there's a lot of boobies in it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with boobies, but apparently you can't show boobies on YouTube. So, yeah, that's a no-go and on YouTube. But I remember when I was reading through them like, geez, boobies are everywhere, awesome, but, God, oh, man, it does have, like I said, a booklet. It has a CD, which is really awesome because I'm a huge fan of the music in this movie. It has a great picture and great sound transfer, and what I like about this edition is they don't make they remaster the found footage part, but they don't make it to where it's crystal clear, and you don't want it to be because, to me, it kind of adds to that atmosphere of that last part of the film. And what makes it creepy is that found footage aspect. I feel like if you would clean it up and make it crispy and clear, and you'd make it all cleaned up, I think it would just take away from the scariness. It's like, for me, when I watched Chainsaw Massacre, the original from 1974, I mean, if I watched that movie, I would much rather watch an old VHS tape than a Blu-ray or a DVD special edition transfer. Because to me, that movie just doesn't kind of match that. It doesn't really match the high definition, the restoration process. Even though it's good to look at, it's very beautiful to look at, it's very clear, I just feel like it's kind of unnecessary for a film like that because that movie kind of matches that. But yeah, like I said, if you want to pick up a good edition of Cannibal Holocaust, this is a movie that when I first watched it, grossed me out. Watched it again, and I was able to see what most people don't see with this movie, is that when you're watching it, it's a really good horror film. The story, the characters, what these characters do. They're very just disgusting people, and it brings up a lot of dark subjects, but I think as a horror film, it's very good. And my favorite part about this Blu-ray is the fact that you can watch it without the animal cruelty scenes. You watch that version, it's a much better experience as a film than seeing the animal cruelty stuff in there. I feel like the animal cruelty adds to the film, but not in a good way. I think it just could have been avoided. It didn't need to be in the movie. It was unnecessary, and Yeah, it does add to the impact and the shock, but it was honestly just just a cheap shock tactic to get shocking footage in the film. I don't really agree with it, and neither does the director or really any of the actors. But yeah, so I'm gonna shut my mouth talking about this Cannibal Holocaust Blu-ray. I'm gonna shut up about that because I'm talking about that for like 5 minutes now. Time to get to the real reason that we came to this video, and that is talk about this movie, Cannibal Ferox. And this is a movie that came out right after Cannibal Holocaust. Cannibal Holocaust, of course, had sparked a cannibal craze, so what they called in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s. And really, you could say it was before Cannibal Holocaust because you had a lot of cannibal movies before it. But that movie really made it to where it was, cheap to make. Really all you had to do was good special effects, and you could sell a movie for $1 million. Even though I'm pretty sure these movies didn't make that much money, you could make a lot of money off these cheap little films. So a lot of grindhouse filmmakers, a lot of underground filmmakers would start going out and filming different cannibal movies, even up to the year of 1988, because I remember I seen there's like a video on YouTube that said Cannibal Holocaust 2, and it was 1988 release. Well, the movie's not really the Cannibal Holocaust Part 2. It's just, there's that thing where it's kind of like Zombie 2, where it was meant to be a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, but it really wasn't. It's kind of like a cash-in, title. And that same thing would happen with Cannibal Holocaust. That movie made a lot of money. It didn't make a crap ton of money, but it was popular. It was talked about. There was a lot of eyes on Cannibal Holocaust because of what it was doing at the time. And so other filmmakers would go out and try to either mimic it or kind of go further beyond it. And that's why you had the Cannibal Holocaust Part 2, which really isn't Cannibal Holocaust Part 2. You had Massacre at Dinosaur Valley. You had a lot of them, a lot of really crazy ones. One more that I'm going to review later on called Zombie Holocaust, which is a fun little film, but that was made. You had all kinds of cannibal movies coming out. But this movie, what makes this movie so interesting is the fact that this movie was made by the same guy who made the very first cannibal film. Now, for years, I thought that Ruggero Deodato had started the cannibal franchise with Cannibal or Jungle Holocaust, whatever that movie was called that he made first before Cannibal Holocaust. And really, it's this director who had made the very first cannibal film. Now, I don't remember what that movie was called, and the internet's not working. That's great. But he did make, I think his filmography is actually in this DVD edition, so I don't know. He made a movie before this. It was one of his very first films, and he was basically the guy who had started the cannibal franchise, who started all the movies. It all goes back to Umberto Lenzi. And with this movie, I feel like, to be honest with you, I love both movies, but I love them in different ways. For me, I feel like this movie works more as a film than Cannibal Holocaust, because with this movie, I actually got into the characters a little bit more. It feels like more of an adventure movie. There's more of a, it's more of a straightforward storyline. So I can't really say if I like it more than Cannibal Holocaust, but I can say it's definitely a little bit more as far as storylines go. It's a little bit more watchable than Cannibal Holocaust, because for me this movie moves by at a very fast pace, has a great atmosphere. Once again, going out into the Amazon and getting that real, 100% real life atmosphere of the Amazon. Unfortunately, there is animal cruelty in this film, so be prepared for that. But most of it is just animals killing other animals, so you're not really seeing like really graphic deaths of an animal, like, humans killing animals every second. It's not like that. It's more like seeing snakes attack things and stuff like that. It's more like just seeing nature, like, just seeing these animals kind of attacking each other. But still, they did film it, and I don't know if it's necessarily animal cruelty, but it's there. I would assume it is because you're filming it, but so you do see some real life animal deaths. That's very unfortunate, but Unfortunately, back in the day, that was one of the most popular things to do amongst these movies. I don't know why, just to get probably cheap shock value, but unfortunately, it was a very popular thing they used to do back then for the cannibal films. And I think Zombie Holocaust has animal cruelty. I can't remember for sure or not. But basically the story, you follow these Americans. They're going to the Amazon. They're doing a study on cannibals to prove if cannibals really exist or not. And basically when they get to the Amazon, it's a pretty basic story. They are in this Jeep and they're driving, and the Jeep ends up crashing, and they go on foot. They find this village, and when they get there, they find a dead body. And before they get to the village, they meet these two people. One guy, they're pretty much, I think, just drug smugglers or something like that. Or I think they're also over there because there's like special jewelry over there that they can get lots of money for. And they're basically going to rob these cannibals for it. And while they're there, at this village, they start finding different things. They find that these older cannibal tribe men don't really want to, kill them. Everything's calm and quiet. They start finding dead bodies and clues to where it would point to there was something else that happened there. Something else that maybe these two other guys did. So they start questioning them, and you find out that these two guys they meet, they're like drug dealers, and they're going over here to rob these cannibals for this jewelry. They're going to go in their land and take this, diamonds and stuff like that. There's like special diamonds and stuff that they're after. That's worth thousands of dollars. And while they're there, they do horrible stuff. They murder the cannibals. They torture them. They castrate one guy. And basically, these poor Americans get caught up in this because they're just innocent people. They're just kind of there because they're exploring the Amazon. They're trying to figure out if cannibals are alive. And I think that part of the movie is what's better than Cannibal Holocaust, because in Cannibal Holocaust, really the only character that you get behind is Dr. Monroe character. In this movie, I think the same guy came back to play, not Dr. Monroe, but he played a detective in this movie. And I feel like that was the only character in that movie I actually cared about. In this movie, you have an interesting dynamic where it's these Americans that get kind of caught up in the situation by accident, and they didn't mean to be there. They didn't mean to get involved with these people. They were just kind of in the Amazon. They seen these guys were injured, so they tried to help them do the right thing. Unfortunately, these guys that were injured were stuck or did these really horrible things to this tribe. And basically after a while, the young tribesmen come back, and that's when the torturing and stuff starts happening, and it gets really crazy. I'll talk about some of those scenes in a minute. But yeah, I feel like it has really great characters, not really the best actors, but I feel like you get behind these characters because you realize that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and, unfortunately what these guys did is going to impact these characters. And when they do get tortured and stuff like that, you feel really bad for them because it's like, it's this asshole over here's fault that this is happening, and he doesn't even want to help these guys. He's like, I don't care about you guys. So you really get behind these characters a little bit more than Cannibal Holocaust. It's much more of an adventure movie. There's more atmosphere to it than I feel in Cannibal Holocaust. There's more of a fictional feel, and what I mean by that is there's definitely characters in this movie. There's definitely, really over the top dialogue and really over the top stuff that makes it feel more like a movie. For me, Cannibal Holocaust kind of feels like a documentary / film, because you have the first half of the movie, which is an actual movie. Last half feels like a found footage movie. And with this movie, there's no found footage angle. It's just kind of like there's, beautiful scenery. The jungle is really beautiful. You get a lot of shots of the animals and nature. You get a pretty decent score that I thought was really, catchy. You have some returning cast members from Cannibal Holocaust. You have, like I said, Dr. Monroe. You have one of the guys who was the documentary crew. He comes back in this movie, the same guy who played, I think Jack was his name in Cannibal Holocaust. The gore is top notch. It looks fantastic. Special effects are grade A. They're awesome. So if you're definitely a gore hound, there's definitely great gore in here. Lots of nudity. But the thing is, you can say there is lots of nudity in this movie and in Cannibal Holocaust, but it's not necessarily nudity that you're like, oh, cool nudity, because usually it involves rape scenes or involves, in this case, girls getting hooks to their freaking boobs. Some people like that. That's not my cup of tea, but you have that. You have a lot of just rape and just stuff that's like, okay, these boobies are no longer awesome to see. This is kind of like getting terrifying, you know what I mean? So these movies, they kind of advertise, oh, there's boobies everywhere, nudity everywhere. Yeah, but it's not really the nudity that, at least I find to be very cool. It's really just disturbing nudity because disturbing stuff happens to these people in this movie. And when you get to the end of the movie, I feel like the special effects take off. It's really intense and really just grotesque what happens to these people. One guy, pretty much the guy he's the dick of the movie. He is the asshole who pretty much a cokehead, and he's responsible for these people getting killed and killing these villagers. He gets castrated, and then he gets 2 blocks of wood over his head, take a machete, and they just cut the top of his head off, and it's all practical. It's crazy. One guy gets eaten by piranha, which was supposed to be in Cannibal Holocaust, but Umberto Lenzi said, you know what, since it wasn't in that, I'm going to use it in this. Now, I don't know if that's official or not, but it's kind of weird how it was supposed to be in Cannibal Holocaust, but yet it ended up being in the very next movie. I don't know. I think Umberto Lenzi was like, oh, it's not in there, I'll put it in here. Maybe he didn't, but I don't know. So you had that piranha sequence. I think they actually use real piranha, if I'm not mistaken. It might be real piranha. Of course, it's a prosthetic leg and stuff like that, but I think they might have used real piranha in that scene. Might have been fake, but it looked pretty realistic. If that was fake piranha, props to the filmmakers. That looked like real piranha. The one girl gets hooks through her boobs and hung. At the end of the movie, the last girl escapes the tribe, and she goes back to her college and says something really weird, like there is no cannibals, or cannibals aren't who we thought they were, or something like that. And then pretty much the movie ends. Now, I did discuss the positives. Time to get to the negatives in this movie, because there are some negatives. First of all, the dubbing. The dubbing is really bad in this movie, and I know I shouldn't expect grade A dubbing, but I just can't help it. The dubbing in this movie is so bad. It's so bad. Also, shoot, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Second of all, the animal cruelty. Another problem that I have with it, definitely the animal cruelty. And there's definitely one more thing. I think it was the city scenes of New York, because the score changes, the atmosphere changes, the tone of the movie gets thrown off. You have a lot of scenes in the New York City atmosphere of, cops looking for clues and drug dealers shooting people and awful dubbing. And it's kind of, it reminds me of Last House on the Left, where you have these other scenes that are really horrific and really intense, and then you cut to a city where silly music is playing, some really awful 70s disco music, and I've heard all kinds of disco. This disco sucks in this movie. Custom some disco playing, and just drug dealers running around killing people, cops trying to figure out what's going on. This kind of subplot, and I just didn't care for it. So that was annoying. Like I said, the animal cruelty is very unfortunate in the film. I don't know why they do it, other than just getting cheap shock value. But to be honest with you guys, I would feel like in some instances this movie does kind of beat Cannibal Holocaust. It has a more engaging story to me. It has a better cast of characters. It has, to me, a more involved atmosphere. Like, you get to see this village, and they get to explore the village and see different parts of the village. You get to see different parts of this cannibal's culture and stuff like that. I really like that. Score was pretty good. I don't think it was as good as, I don't know if the same guy, Riz Ortolani, did the score, but pretty decent score. Didn't mind it. I think there was this score in other Cannibal movies as well. Kind of that main theme song of the movie. And I also like the original title, Make Them Die Slowly. Very creepy, crazy title there. But overall, Cannibal Ferox is actually a pretty fun movie. Not pretty fun movie, but it's a pretty good movie. Very disturbing. Definitely not fun. I don't know why I said it's a pretty fun movie, because it's not fun. But it's pretty messed up, pretty twisted. Overall, decent little movie. Didn't mind it. I would say probably as good as Cannibal, if not better than Cannibal Holocaust. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I would say that if you're going to for gore, it's there. Storyline is there. Atmosphere is there. So you do have some stuff going for it. But anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on Cannibal Ferox. Hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll see you guys on the next review. The Explorer 4 is out.